Got a Bible review today. This is the Cambridge Emerald Text Bible, and I picked this up from the KJV store. This is a red letter edition, and if you want to see this is the box it comes in. And here's a look at the ISB number. If I can get it to focus. So this is the box it comes in. Get rid of that. And here's the Bible itself. It has a red ribbon marker. Here's a look at the spine. Holy Bible, King James Version, red letter edition, Cambridge. I will say, when I first got this Bible about a week ago, I was not real impressed right off the bat, because every other page of the book was stuck together because of the gilding. And it wasn't like glued together to where the pages tore or anything like that, but I had to go through every other page from Genesis to Revelation and just kind of unstick them. And once I did, they are fine. They haven't stuck anymore. But I will say I was a little bit shocked to see a Cambridge Bible have that kind of problem. But maybe they aren't all like that. I don't know. So here's my impressions of it. Here's the thickness of it. It's probably about an inch or just a little bit over thick. The leather is French Moroccan leather, as it says down there. It's a pretty stiff leather. It reminds me a lot of a Bible I'm going to show you here in a second that I'm going to compare it to, because they're so similar. But here's the card that comes with the Bible. Maybe you've seen this in a Cambridge Bible. This is the first Cambridge Bible I've ever bought. And that's what that thing says. Put that aside. So the Bible itself, what drew me to this was, here's the presentation page. I'm just going to cover up some personal information. But it's a nice presentation page. You get 2 blank cardstock pages in the front. And here we see Holy Bible containing the Old and New Testaments, and Cambridge University Press. It has the copyright for Cambridge there. You can read that if you want. Printed in Belarus. Interesting. It has the epistle dedicatory. It does not have the translator to the readers. And there's the names of the books. I think I missed a page here. There's the order of the books. Not the order of the books, I'm sorry. The alphabetical names of the books of the Bible. And then the order of the books, Old and New Testament. And then you have a blank page. It's not cardstock or anything like that. You can tell because you can see the ghosting behind it. But then you have the book of Genesis. And what drew me to this Bible was that it is non-self-pronouncing text, which if you've seen my other Bible video where I talk about the Windsor Bible, which I'm going to compare to this one here in a second, I'm not a big fan of self-pronouncing text. I find I can read it better without the self-pronouncing marks. So right off the bat, you can maybe see it through here, but there is quite a bit of ghosting through the pages, but it's not enough to really bother me. I've been reading this one for about a week, and I really like this Bible a lot. The size, and the font. It's kind of an older font, but it doesn't have the self-pronouncing marks, which I don't think I've ever seen that in a Bible. Usually when there's not self-pronouncing text, it's kind of a newer type of font, but this is kind of an older type of a font. Now one thing you'll notice, it does not lay flat in Genesis. And I've been reading this for about a week, and it was even stiffer than this when I first got it. So with that kind of thicker, cheaper leather cover and it not being leather lined, it's very stiff, similar to the Windsor when I first bought it. So there's a look at the text. Flip ahead here to the Psalms. There's the book of Psalms. It's a nice looking text. I like it a lot. And I'll flip over to Matthew here so we can get a look at the red letter. And at the end of Malachi, this is how the end of Malachi ends, end of the prophets. You then have a sheet similar to the Old Testament that just says the New Testament. And then another sheet that says the New Testament with the words of our Lord while upon earth printed in red. And the reason why it says that is because in the book of Revelation there is no red letters, which I'll show here at the end. And then you actually have a table of contents here for the New Testament, which I don't think I've ever seen that in a Bible. But so that's kind of interesting. And then here's the book of Matthew. And it lays somewhat flat here just because I've been using it quite a bit. But I really like this Bible a lot. And here's a look at the red letter. I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but I'll try. I think it's picking it up pretty well. Really like the red letter. And haven't found any issues with the, I know some of the local church Bible publisher Bibles, some pages are a little darker than others and things. This is pretty consistent throughout, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'll flip back here to Revelation and show that it doesn't have any red letter. There's the Revelation of St. John the Divine. And I'll go to the last book here just to show here. Verse 22, verse 16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel. And you'll notice it's not in red letter. And like I said, that's why it has that little note there in the beginning of the New Testament that the words are only in red while Jesus was on the earth. So kind of interesting. I have one other red letter Bible. It's a Holman. I don't really use it. And I checked it, and they actually put the red letters in the book of Revelation. So must be just different publishers do it different ways, I guess. But then in the end of this Bible, there's a Bible word list. If you want to pause that and see what that has to say. And it also has the abbreviations at the end of the word list, the abbreviations of the books. And it has a reading plan here in the back, which I never really follow. And then it looks like you have 1, 2, 3 and a half, I guess. So about 7 cardstock pages, blank cardstock pages here in the back, and that's it. I like this Bible a lot, and I'll compare it here to the one on the right. Is the Windsor Bible, and you can tell they are very similar in size. Let's see if I can get them both on the thing here. There's a look at both of them. And there's a look at the thickness. The red ribbon is the Cambridge, and the 2 black ribbons are the Windsor. So very similar. But the Windsor has a lot smaller print than the Cambridge. It's a pretty clear print, but it is smaller. And but they're almost the same thickness, and the reason for that is the Windsor has a little bit thicker paper in it, which is a little bit nicer. But like I said, this paper, even though it is a little thinner, it has a little bit more ghosting in the Cambridge. The ghosting gets picked up more on camera than it does in person, I think. And it kind of depends on where you're reading, what kind of light you're looking in, so it's really not that bad. The Windsor here, when I first bought it, it was very stiff when I first bought it, and it now lays pretty flat on the table and even in my hand. So I have a feeling this Cambridge will probably loosen up quite a bit too. But anyway, that's a look of it. But the only other thing I wanted to mention about this Bible is an issue with the actual words that are printed in it. And I'm not real thrilled with this because I didn't realize it till after I ordered it. But Bryan Denlinger, his YouTube channel is Husky394XP, if you don't know who he is. He's a good teacher of the Bible, and I like to listen to his sermons and studies. He has a website called KingJamesVideoMinistries.com, and on that website he has a list of words to help you find a counterfeit King James Bible. And right off the bat here, we're going to find that this Cambridge has a lot of issues. The red X, let me get this here. The true reading is in the middle column there, the counterfeit is on the right. And the red X's are, I went through and marked all of these verses. And the red X is the Cambridge Bible that I have to show that that verse has the corrupt reading, which is not very good. I'm not real thrilled about it. For instance, Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 should be a capital S spirit, and as well I'll show you here, it has a lowercase s spirit. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 there, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and it's a lowercase s. And as you'll see on this word list, a lot of red X's, and a lot of them are lowercase s spirits when it says Spirit of God or Holy Spirit or Spirit of the Lord, and it should be a capital S, and they like to change it to a lowercase s for some odd reason. And it's only in the Old Testament that they do this, except for one verse, I'm not sure why. Isaiah chapter 59 verse 19, they have a capital S spirit. But every other one on this list has the corrupt lowercase s spirit. And once we get here into Matthew, it checks out real well. There's only one verse I found in the New Testament that has a issue with it, and that's Revelation chapter 1 verse 16. It has a hyphen in the word two-edged, which isn't that big of a deal to me, I guess. But so I think it's interesting that this true King James Cambridge text, and this is a Cambridge Bible, and for some reason they're changing the words. I'm not really sure why that is. I've been studying a little bit about the Pure Cambridge edition and some other things. Gail Ripplinger has a good article. I'll see if I can post a link in the description box to a good article about the different settings of the King James Bible and what her recommendations and things are. And I'm still going to use this Bible. It's not the same difference as a new version to the King James, which I will not use any version but the King James. But it's just a shame that these publishers make these changes, and most people probably don't even know it. So that's my biggest problem I have with this Bible. I don't think it should stop you from buying it. I don't think the quality of this is as nice as other Cambridges, but it's also quite a bit cheaper. So I'll put a link also to the KJV store, this particular one, and it's also available without the red letter. And but I don't have hardly any King James Bibles that are red letter, so I really wanted to get one. And I like not having the references, and I like not having the self-pronouncing text. So for the most part, I really like this Bible a lot, and it's it's enjoyable to read out of. And if anybody has any questions about it in the comments, I will try and answer them. And I thank you for watching this video.